I was such a horse girl. I was obsessed with horses growing up, which is so funny looking back now. Plus, I was an Anglophile when I was young. I just needed to read and consume everything British. This is Julie with Mysteries and Mountains, and actually today I want to talk about the authors that I happened to read growing up that were the most impactful to me. So what I'd like to do is take you on a journey with me back through time. Okay, first I want to talk about probably the first series I ever read. I can't say that for sure because I read the Happy Hollisters and the Boxcar Children and some stuff like that first, but the most impactful series on me growing up was Little House on the Prairie by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I loved it so much as a kid, and I'm rereading it with my son now. And we find the Long Winter book particularly poignant. Laura describes her family barely surviving one winter. And it's fascinating to me how hard the entire family had to work just in order to survive. All her books are so descriptive, and that struck me when I was little, and it still strikes me today. She described every little detail. For example, when she was describing how her father built a home for them, she would describe step by step in depth how he made his own nails because he didn't use store-bought nails. He made his own out of wood. He also made his own ammunition for hunting. I did watch the TV series a bit when I was little, but I was such a book nerd. I would rather be reading than doing anything. I can remember going to my brother's baseball games and I would just bring a big stack of library books and just read them one after the other. And I would look up surprised when the games were over and it was time to leave. The next author I have for you is Jules Verne. Jules Verne is a French writer I discovered in high school. I read and loved Around the World in 80 Days. I think this was probably one of the first books I ever read to inspire wanderlust. I would go on to read books like Eat, Pray, Love and Kitchen Confidential and The Beach, but this was the first one I think that inspired me to travel. Verne started out as a lawyer, but his passion for writing led him to pursue a career as an author. And I just find that very inspiring, like Find Your Bliss. Verne's best known for his Extraordinary Voyages, a series that included novels like Around the World in 80 Days, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and Journey to the Center of the Earth. These stories, which blend scientific facts with narrative, have captivated readers for generations. What's crazy is Verne's influence on innovations and technology. He died in 1905, but he actually influenced a whole host of inventions with his visions of air, space, and underwater travel and countless technological advancements. Around the World in 80 Days was like the first travel blog ever. I highly recommend Jules Verne. Patricia Cornwell is another writer I discovered in high school. I started with her series following Dr. Kay Scarpetta, a medical examiner, and I loved Scarpetta so much. Cornwell weaves a fast-paced and thrilling plot with compelling characters like no other. I was impressed by her deep research into forensic science, which lends authenticity to her work. Cornwell is also known for her theory on Jack the Ripper, proposing the British painter Walter Siggart as the infamous serial killer. Cornwell's compelling storytelling and commitment to authenticity have made her one of the most influential figures in crime fiction, with her books selling over 100 million copies worldwide. A quick quote by Patricia Cornwell is, "The world is full of people who mean no harm and cause a great deal of it." That hits hard. Next up is Ernest Hemingway. Wait, don't cancel me. I've certainly had a love-hate relationship with Hemingway's writing over the years. It can tend toward misogyny at times, but keep in mind he was born in 1899, the literal 1800s, over a century ago. So in that sense, I can make allowances for certain mindsets that permeated the times. And I think it's all Hemingway knew or had been taught. Also, Hemingway was pretty open-minded for his time, and I think if he were around today, he would have evolved with the rest of us. My excitement with Hemingway comes from reading his novel, A Movable Feast, in Paris when I was there. This book chronicles his time living in Paris as a starving artist in the Roaring '20s. I bought A Movable Feast in the Shakespeare and Company bookstore, the actual store where Hemingway hung out in the 1920s. He would borrow books from the owner, just like a library, because he was so poor he literally couldn't afford books. I just completely romanticized the whole experience and could not have enjoyed it more. Any way you look at it, Hemingway is one of the most influential writers in American history. His distinctive writing style, characterized by understatement, has profoundly influenced the literary landscape of the 20th century. And I get off on understatement. I have to say, an understated person, place, or thing is everything to me. I definitely lean more toward economy of words in writing style than flowery prose for sure. In addition to the Pulitzer, Hemingway was awarded the Nobel Prize for his influence on contemporary style in 1954. Despite his literary success, Hemingway struggled with mental health issues and depression throughout his life, leading to his suicide in 1961 at the age of 61. So I think I kind of related to his mental health struggles as well. My favorite quote by Hemingway is, "The world breaks everyone, but we're stronger in the broken places." This quote feels like truth to me in my very core. I have sobbed and sobbed over this quote before. Number 6 is Dick Francis, and he's another author I discovered in high school. I was such a horse girl. I was obsessed with horses growing up, which is so funny looking back now because I never think about them now, and they're all I thought about when I was young. I had posters of horses on my wall. I read horse books. I even got a pony when I was a little girl. I was obsessed. So all Dick Francis books revolve around the world of horse racing. Dick Francis is a renowned British author known for his mysteries and thrillers. So he has a wide range of experiences to bring to his stories. He was a pilot in the Royal Air Force during World War II. After the war, he became a professional jockey. And then when he was done with that career, he became a renowned professional author. His books were classic mystery thrillers, fast-paced but not too scary. And the plot was exciting, even if you could figure out the end, it still wasn't anticlimactic because there was a story to tell there. You were so engrossed in the characters and plot by the end that you didn't really have to figure out the mystery in order to be happy. It was the whole story that got me, and there was almost always a romantic element to his books. Plus, I was an Anglophile when I was young. I just needed to read and consume everything British. I was so fascinated by their lifestyle of horse racing, pubs, tea and scones, fish and chips, the accents, the Jason Stathams, the Jude Laws. By God, the Jude Laws. Just the Britishness of it all. Francis continued writing up until his death in 2010, leaving a legacy of over 40 novels. It's so sad to me that after his death, it was suggested that his wife was actually the ghostwriter for most of his novels, as he was very uneducated and she was a former teacher. It's sad to me that they felt they had to keep that under wraps and that she felt she couldn't have a career as an author herself. She's quoted as saying that the books might lose their credibility if they were credited to her, which breaks my heart. My favorite Dick Francis quote from one of his books was, "Some are born weird, some achieve it, and some have weirdness thrust upon them." I did not expect this one to come from Dick Francis, but what a great quote. I think I was born weird, and I kind of love that about me. Number 5 is Margaret Atwood. She's a Canadian writer, best known for her profound and thought-provoking works in literature. I was really into her work about 15 years ago. You guys will probably know her from The Handmaid's Tale, but she's written over 50 other works, including books, novels, poems, and critical essays. Her most notable work, The Handmaid's Tale, is a dystopian novel about women in subjugation and the various means by which they attain agency. I've never seen the show, but in the book, the main character is a woman who can remember dating, getting married, having a baby, living a normal life circa about 1995, and then she's just thrust into this dystopian world where women are completely subjugated to men. They serve the men. They're basically baby makers, and they're to give the men whatever they need. They're forced to live in communes with other women and wear long dresses like they're from the 1700s. It's so disturbing. And that's what I'd say all of her books have in common. They're very disturbing. They follow the thread of an extremist group or a popular idea, all the way to the end, and she reveals all the problems and difficulties that would come with that line of thinking. Atwood kind of educates as she entertains, but never strays so far as to become dogmatic. I think I started with the Oryx and Crake trilogy, but I've read lots of her books. They all make you think about issues and problems in contemporary society and what would happen if we continue to do nothing. It's terrifying. My favorite quote by Margaret Atwood is, "Sooner or later, I hate to break it to you, you're gonna die. So how you fill the space between here and there, it's yours. Seize your space." And that's the one that inspired me to start this channel. We're all gonna die, and we don't know when. I want to spend the time I have doing the things I love and talking about the things I love. Life is too short to just sit back and be comfortable watching Netflix and waiting for your ship to come in. Number 4 is Eckhart Tolle. I think this is the one that ushered me into my era of self-help books. Eckhart Tolle actually taught me how to escape my anxiety and feel true peace for the first time in my life. I was dealing with a rough marriage at the time and had crippling depression and anxiety. I was agoraphobic and didn't even realize it. I believe if I continued down that path, I would be stuck inside, I would never leave the house, and I would never experience the life I have today. Tolle completely changed my life. One of the concepts that was most meaningful to me was the ideal that your problems are just circumstances that you've made into a story. For example, if you're going through a rough time at work, it's not necessarily the circumstances that are your problem, it's the story you're telling yourself about those circumstances. These people don't listen to me and no one understands me and they all pile their work on me and I have to do everything and on and on and on, right? We can come up with infinite stories about our work situation or even the threat of physical violence. I've been through that in my life, but just become very present and question yourself about it. So let's say I become very present as I'm thinking about being hit or kicked. Is he hitting me right now? No, he's not. I'm safe in a locked room. It's calm and peaceful and quiet. I am safe. No one is attacking me right now. So actually me being physically hurt only exists as a story in my head. The past is gone. The future is not guaranteed. All we really have is the present moment. And when I grasped this concept for the first time, I was absolutely blown away. And if you are in physical danger, I'm not saying you should stay there. You should definitely seek help. But I'm saying that we don't have to think about it every single second of every day. Or I didn't. I should speak for my situation. So the situation I was in, I did not have to think about it every single second of every single day. I had never thought about it like that before. So instead of being constantly fearful, anxious, depressed, and afraid, I started experiencing small, quick moments of quiet, peace, and calm. So Tolle is best known for his book, The Power of Now, but he's also known for A New Earth. One of my favorite quotes by him is, "Worry pretends to be necessary, but it actually serves no useful purpose." Thinking about solutions serves a purpose, but just worrying and ruminating and thinking about your problems all day, every day, actually serves no purpose. Number 3 is Martha Beck. I first discovered Martha Beck in magazine articles back when we used to purchase and read magazines. Then I purchased her book, Finding Your Own North Star. In this book, she teaches you how to get in touch with your internal compass, discover what you really want in life, and find your purpose. But what was so powerful to me were the concrete techniques she teaches in her books about how to find your purpose, how to find peace, how to live a happier life. One thing she taught me that I will never forget is the shackles on, shackles off technique. This is for when you're trying to make a decision or you want to do something, but you're afraid. Sit down and meditate. Then imagine the thing you're thinking about doing. It could be cliff diving, it could be getting married or starting a family or anything you're thinking about doing. You probably feel some fear around this decision, but does it feel like you're wearing handcuffs or like you're free? So for me, if I imagine going to work at my old soul-sucking job, then it felt like I was wearing handcuffs. But if I imagine sailing around the world, that felt like freedom. You can use it in much more concrete or mundane examples. That makes it sound like I had the choice between working a soul-sucking job or sailing around the world. So let me give you a real example. In my first marriage, I was terrified of getting a divorce. So there were lots of reasons to stay and lots of reasons to go. When I imagined staying married, it definitely felt like I was wearing handcuffs. And when I imagined leaving, it felt like a huge weight had lifted off my chest and like I was free. I've used this technique hundreds of times in life with big decisions and small ones, and it's never failed me. And Martha Beck has tons more techniques where that one came from. Martha holds 3 degrees from Harvard University, a bachelor's, a master's, and a PhD. And she began her career as a life coach after chronicling her experiences of parenting a young child with Down syndrome. The name of that book was Expecting Adam. My favorite quote by Martha Beck is, "The process of spotting fear and refusing to obey it is the source of all true empowerment." Martha taught me that the thing you are most afraid will be found out is the thing you need to say. And the person that you're most afraid will find out is the person you need to tell. That changed my life. Because I used to keep everything all bottled up and never tell anyone my deepest, darkest secrets. And once I did that, everything changed for the better. I've never felt so light and so free in my life. Number 2 is Elizabeth Gilbert. I feel like Elizabeth Gilbert personally helped me through my divorce. Sorry if you can hear them wrestling in the other room, they're being loud. As I dove into her journey of self-discovery around the world, I felt resonance with my own struggles. She made me feel like I was not alone and like I had not failed. I just had the guts to leave a bad situation. As you know, Gilbert is an acclaimed American author, best known for her book, Eat, Pray, Love. This book chronicles Gilbert's journey around the world and what she discovered through her travels. Her insightful exploration of the human experience offered me a fresh perspective. I actually had a personal interaction with Gilbert, which was pretty exciting. At the time when I was going through this intense dark night of the soul, I attended a book signing of Elizabeth Gilbert in my town. She was on a book tour at the time, and she was actually in my yoga class that morning, the morning of the signing. I was so in my head at the time, I didn't even recognize her. And keep in mind, her headshot on the back of her book was probably like 10 or 15 years old at least. And so she looked different, but still, when I saw her in my class, I just didn't put 2 and 2 together. And she even complimented my headband. That's like the biggest regret of my life. I've read several of her other books as well, and they're all very different. She's written fiction, nonfiction, and memoir. She's an excellent writer. Her writing is descriptive, thorough, and conversational. She puts her own unique twist on things without being silly. She just has a very quirky mind and a distinctive writing voice. I want to read you my favorite Elizabeth Gilbert quote. This is from her book, Big Magic. "Do whatever brings you to life then. Follow your own fascinations, obsessions, and compulsions. Trust them. Create whatever causes a revolution in your heart." That is just everything. And my new number 1 on my list is, you're going to be shocked by this, Lucy Foley. In my 40s, I'm back to fun. I've slowly slid out of the self-help genre, and I'm back to just reading whatever the hell I want. Now I read a wide variety of books, but my favorite genre for the past few years is definitely mystery. Yay, I love them so much. The drama, the twists and turns, the puzzle that you have to solve, the surprise endings. I love mysteries. They make me so happy. And I think I'm all about happiness in my 40s. Other decades can kind of focus on other things, finding yourself, building your career, building your relationships, but I think 40s are just for fun. The number 1 thing I've realized that I love about books is connecting with the characters. When I feel so inside a character's head that I almost feel like I become them and I'm living their experiences, I'm at my happiest. Lucy Foley provides this experience in spades. In my opinion, there's no one out there writing characters better than her. Lucy Foley is a contemporary British author, best known for her mystery and thriller novels. I believe The Paris Apartment was my first Lucy Foley that I ever read, and there was a little bit of recency bias with that one because I had just been to Paris before I read it. And I was just blown away. The trip and the book combined to provide a uniquely immersive reading experience. Her descriptions of Paris in The Paris Apartment just had me feeling like I was back in the city while I was reading the book. My favorite quote by Lucy Foley is, "Life is messy. We all know this. I learned this while I was still a child. But no matter what happens, life is only a series of days. You can't control more than a single day, but you can control one of them." That is so true. You can't control more than a single day, but you can control what you do now. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you react to it. Speaking of reactions, you could react to this video. You could like and subscribe. You can do whatever you want. You could just go on living your life. I'm so happy I got to share these authors with you. These were the top 10 authors that had the most impact on my life. And I think they'll have an impact on you too. Try them out and see. I'm tired of talking and you're tired of listening. Let's go.